And we're back with another episode of the Branders Magazine Talking with Branders podcast. And I am sitting down here with Sean Riley, the chief executive dude from Dude Wipes. And we'll totally get into that title in a bit. But Sean, good to see you again. Great to have you on. Tell everyone a little bit about yourself and the 60-second elevator pitch.
Steven, nice to see you again, man. Thanks for having me on.
Of course.
So I'm Sean Riley, Chief Executive Dude or CEO of Dude Wipes. And our elevator pitch is we're just a couple of guys sitting on our couch, drinking beers, eating burritos, thinking, hey, we want to start a business. We want to get into entrepreneurship. And at the time, we were using baby wipes. And we were going to the bathroom a lot, and we were partying a lot and all these things. And we kind of noticed an addictive routine with baby wipes that they were much better than toilet paper, and that, you know, there was no brands out there doing anything fun in the wipe space or the toilet paper space in general. So we said, hey, we're going to go disrupt this, $13 billion industry controlled by all these conglomerates and come out with our own product, which, of course, dudes sitting around on a couch talking about wipes, we called it Dude Wipes. So, yeah, just kind of a fun story of, that everybody can relate to, of friends sitting around shooting the shit.
Literally.
Trying to come out with a brand, a company, a product, all those things.
Yeah, but when you started, and in full disclosure, everyone, I've worked with Sean and the dudes on their new campaign, which will be coming out over the summer. And we're going to have Sean back for part 2. And maybe we'll even have some of the other guys, too. Come on, that might be fun. Do a little bit of a round table. But what was that? What was that like Eureka moment? Like you're sitting around, and I'm sure it wasn't like, hey, let's disrupt something. It had to be a little bit more organic. Like, do you remember what that like actual moment was?
The Eureka moment was not like one moment, but kind of over the course of putting these wipes in the bathroom, the conversations just kept coming up. Some guys had never used wipes before. So then, like, as soon as they did, they were like, man, I can never go back to toilet paper. And, those things are so addictive. And so enough of those sort of conversations happened where we were like, this seems like as good of an idea as any, or as good of a product as any. And disrupting some big industry was something hard to fathom at the time. But kind of picking out an enemy, which really makes for good branding, or picking out the old guard or the old way, that was something we talked about right from the get-go. Like our original box had it was like a caveman, or it was like minus plus toilet paper equals a caveman. Like we had toilet paper on there, and, all these different things that was kind of like the old way to do things. And so, yeah, it was as simple as that.
Hearing this story reminds me of the frat house days, and that's what I picture, right? Is you and the dudes in like a frat house, talking shit literally, and drinking, having a good time, and then slowly but surely you said and think of something that you said, the accessibility, right? All of a sudden the wipes were in the bathroom. All of a sudden that became like a conversation piece, and I'm sure people started to come over and be like, somebody have a baby? Like, why are there wipes in the bathroom? That kind of like organically started it. Like when you guys were first coming out and building this brand, you said, all right, we're going to call it Dude Wipes. Such a super obvious, amazing name, right? It's one of those where it's like, duh, but it works. Like it works perfectly. What were some of those challenges, like first coming out, starting a brand, starting to sell products, starting to, create a narrative around it? Do you remember those like first challenges or those first like hard moments?
Yeah, I mean, getting any sort of attention is tough in the beginning, when you're bootstrapped and you don't have a marketing budget. Just getting people to know about you and hear about you becomes a challenge. The Dude Wipes name gave us at least that, pow factor to get people's attention. Be like, Dude Wipes, what? Honestly, in the beginning, a lot of like, oh, this has to be a joke, or is this a gag gift? And it was 2012 when our first product came out. So even like men's grooming was like early. And so guys using wipes, it seemed really foreign at the time. So it was a little bit of a slow slog. Like we saw that people who got their hands on it enjoyed it and they liked it, but it was just very small amounts of people in the beginning. and then kind of, growing on top of that. But, tons of challenges in the beginning, but all we really wanted to do was sell through our dude wipes that we bought, and
Right.
get enough money to buy some more and stuff like that. So there was so many challenges, kind of everything was a challenge. But then at the same time, we were amazed being first-time entrepreneurs, like that this was working to some respect. People were buying them and we needed to order more. And so that was enough to get, wind in our sails. And then the brand, probably what gave us even more confidence was the fun conversations people would have about the brand, and like just that we knew there was something magical with the brand before even the sales or the product, were showing us, that there was something with it.
In the startup story, there's a great book. I go back to this book all the time. I've actually gifted this book to more friends than any other book, and it's The Obstacle is the Way by Ryan Holiday. I don't know if you've read it, but the obstacle is the way, right? All those little obstacles create that momentum that you need, and I think building a brand is not easy, and you're going to have those obstacles. You talked about how the brand started to pick up some momentum, right? There's conversations started having. You guys have such an irreverent tone. And we'll get to your social media presence in a bit, but there's such a unique tone to the brand. How have you been able to maintain that tone throughout the brand's evolution? Because that's a hard thing to do, to stay consistent. But like, what has been, how have you been able to do that?
So the tone out the get-go was like, how would a brand talk if it was just you and your buddies sitting around, watching the game or at the bar or anything like that? So, your guys, you talk about taking shits and poop humor and all those things. And so from the get-go, we were like, this brand is going to be real, authentic, funny, all of those things. So that was just like, early on, we felt like that's what was needed to be. If anything, early on, it might have been like too crass or crude. Like launching a brand is also about like finding the voice. And I think that's why I try and tell people, like, you're not going to know the voice day one. I think you have to put your flag in the ground. Like, this is what we stand for, and what Dude Wipe stood for was, a cleaner way to go to the bathroom and just like irreverent, fun, nobody's going to tell us what to say and how to say it. So from there, we kind of crafted like the humor and the wit and like how we would, play with things on social media and stuff. And all of that was like an evolution and a learning curve, along the way, where we've stayed true to who we are, but you also kind of evolve at the same time,
Of course.
As you start getting into a ton of Walmarts and, 50% of your buyers are, moms and all of that sort of stuff, you start being like, okay, how can this brand talk where it relates to even more and more people? So it's always been evolved, but yeah, what we've stuck to from day one is that authenticity, that irreverence, and that, we are going to be talking just like you and your friends would. Like, you're supposed to act like that.
It's like you're finding the balance between consistency and flexibility, right? Like you can't just be so consistent that you're rigid, that like you can't adapt to the times, you can't adapt to your audience who is evolving. And I'm sure your audience through COVID evolved, exponentially, right? There was tremendous growth there. So you have to have that flexibility. And I think that that's so smart for you guys to recognize that. And I think, other brands that come out that want to stand for something like Dude Wipe stand for, they may not be as flexible, right? They may not be as, allow themselves the grace to kind of go with the flow in a bit. And I think that's just so important in the brand world. And obviously what we recommend whenever consulting with brands or whatnot. I mentioned COVID earlier, and I know the story, but I don't think anyone else really knows the story. Like, what happened pre-COVID, during COVID, and post-COVID? Like, give us like this Trinity domino effect that happened with the brand.
Yeah. So, pre-COVID, we're rolling along pretty well. Call it, 2019, 2020, we're, 7 years into this thing. and starting to really pick up distribution. And we're in places like Walmart and Target. And, Dude Wipes has like a good distribution platform, and it's kind of picking up steam in our own like organic, fun way. And then, the toilet paper shortage hits, and sort of overnight, all of a sudden, everybody's out of toilet paper at all the stores.
Mm-hmm.
And we start getting massive purchase orders from all the major retailers. Basically, however many Dude Wipes you have, we'll take. And we could only sell so many, so we kind of sold out of everything we had over the course of like 7 to 10 days. But what we were able to do really well was double, triple our manufacturing capacity here in the US. So then we started working really close with our manufacturer, just being like, how much can we get? So we're getting as much as we could. And immediately, it didn't even sit on our warehouse for a day. It's going out the door to the retailer.
Mm-hmm.
So when the bigger, toilet paper companies, they couldn't move as quick, and there was a lot of out of stocks, Dude Wipes were kind of flying into the shelves and filling these presences. So of course people were buying them. So it wasn't as much about, the brand at that point. It was just like, hey, these are wipes. And they were having the aha moment we had in the apartment, oh, I should try these wipes. I never looked at this before because toilet paper was always in stock. So, we call it this like mass, trial event where everyone tried, Dude Wipes, not everyone, but a lot of people, or everyone tried the category. And from there, so we had a great 2020. It was sort of like, what does the retention look like? What does the stickiness look like the next year? Obviously it might be tough to maintain those sales. And what we were pleasantly surprised by was, having a bigger year in 21, having a bigger year in 2022, that, basically 7 out of 10 people who try this category, they kind of like to stay in it. So we gained all these new fans, and it makes sense when you zoom out. Obviously, it was crazy time. You're just kind of living day by day, and we're trying to grow this business as fast as we can. But the reason that we've got to where we are, being bootstrapped, is that we have good retention. So essentially means when people buy Dude Wipes, most people enjoy the experience and they buy them again, and they, keep them in their repertoire.
Yeah.
So that's why we've been successful up until then. Then you just deluge like a massive amount of, new customers and acquisition into a brand that already has good loyalty and retention. The math just kind of plays itself out. So it really allowed us to, trial and sample, people at a mass level, and really expose a bunch more people to the brand.
It's like, there was enough anxiety during COVID, but you couple that anxiety with, I might be running out of Dude Wipes after I'm a trial user. And now all of a sudden people are like, I need to get on a subscription plan on Amazon. I need to get my Dude Wipes. I'll tell you, that's how it is in my house. It's my wife. It's Melissa saying, Steven, we need to order more Dude Wipes. We need to order more Dude Wipes because she's more of a loyalist user than I am. But that's such a great, you guys capitalized on such, and not like you foresaw it, right? Not like anyone foresaw it, but like your enemy, toilet paper, got wiped out overnight seemingly, and you guys were just in that position to win. And everything you had done the 7 years prior of building the business, just, what do they say? Luck is opportunity meets preparedness, right? Yeah. So some might say you guys are lucky. No, you guys were prepared, and the opportunity just presented itself. For the listeners out there that don't know, within those 7 years in bootstrapping, obviously there was Shark Tank, right? You guys were on Shark Tank, and you got an investment from Mark Cuban. How has he been from helping to guide the brand over the last couple of years as a partner of yours?
Yeah, I mean, Cuban's a great ambassador, for the brand, and a great sort of dude to have on our team. So he gets it really from like a branding perspective. He gets that, it's a long game if it's working, and so his encouragement to a lot of to us along the way was like, there have been times where maybe we're like, hey, should we raise more money? Should we pour gasoline on this fire? And he'd be like, you guys are growing pretty impressively organically. And he's like, and that's actually a good thing. You know, sometimes you'll see growth and it's just because someone poured $10 million worth of advertising into their, you know, brand and they show this growth. But that kind of patience when things are working in the right trend and the right trajectory, you know, an outsider like Mark, who's seen a lot of different brands, he's seen things go right, seen things go wrong, can kind of point out, hey guys, like this is on a good trend. You may be impatient living and breathing in this business every day, but I'm seeing a brand, you know, that I know is irreverent. I know that people like, he gets a lot of comments about it. And, you know, he's seeing a product that people are adopting. So Mark is kind of like is good sounding board to be outside of the business and help you focus, help you kind of stay grounded in your mission.
Speaking of focus and staying grounded, you know, we've had this conversation from a brand extension perspective, right? Brands that see success, oftentimes they want to, well, we can do this kind of product and we can do that kind of product. What's been the evolution within the dudes, within Dude Wipes on brand extensions? How much have you extended and have you had to pull back as well?
Yeah, I mean, we've extended a lot. You know, so probably 2018, we came out with deodorants and, you know, body sprays. And, you know, we're trying to play also more in that Axe Old Spice, like let's extend into men's grooming because, you know, people love our brand. It's got the name Dude on it. Like, why can't we make everything for dudes? And so, you know, that was something that we, you know, made those, we'd call them mistakes early on, but definitely learning lessons for us. And COVID kind of helped us correct the ship a little bit. When we were having all this growth in Dude Wipes, we realized, you know, when you chase two rabbits, you don't catch any. You know what I mean? Like focus on the goal at hand. And there was so much growth with Dude Wipes. There still is so much growth with it that we realized we were kind of wasting our time, our energy, and our capital going after all of these things. So we decided like, we're going to be a category king, not a platform to sell shaving cream and sell soap and all of these things under the Dude name. We're going to be a true disruptor to a major industry like toilet paper, and Dude Wipes is going to be like Kleenex to that category, you know? And ever since we made that decision, God, everything else in the business has been so much easier. You know, and you realize how much time you're wasting of R&D folks, supply chain folks, warehousing folks, marketing folks, brand. You're dividing everybody's attention and mission. And now that we're really recentered on the mission, we've been growing even faster. We're able to innovate in our lane even more. So we're glad, you know, that we tried these things because I think we would have always said, well, what if, you know, what could this Dude brand be? Those always would have been questions. We sort of answered those questions with failures and you know, now are big believers in kind of the Al Reese, Jack Trout mentality, you know, the immutable laws of marketing that sort of in a consumer's mind, they really want the brand to mean one thing and be the only, be the king. And we still have so much juice left to squeeze. A
lot of asses to wipe.
A lot of asses to wipe.
And a whole new generation of asses growing up to get their asses wiped.
Exactly, man. So, yeah, dude. We talk about a lot of that openly and publicly. You know, like, hey, we tried these things; they didn't work for us. We don't believe in them, and kind of don't fall down the same trap because I think as entrepreneurs, you are inherently creative.
Right.
You want to create things, and you have that energy and that knack, and so the shiny object syndrome is super tempting, and you know can be
so tempting.
It's
so tempting, and brands that overextend themselves often, you know, just dilute their message, dilute like what made them so great from the get-go. The brand, I love the idea that, you know, you guys are borderline polarizing at times. You know, your social is so active in tone, right? It's not passive at all. It's active. You know, how, and with that, right? Like with with that line in the sand that you drawn and with that tone, you might offend people, right? It's part of the game. How have you been able to handle any negative comments or negativity that surrounds the brand and or brand tone?
Yeah, so a lot of times with negativity, kind of the way to handle it is to acknowledge people and let them know that, hey, this is what the brand's about. And so a lot of times you can turn people around, as much as we're not trying to please everybody, and we believe that's a path to nowhere, being a brand that appeals to everybody and tries to please everybody. You want to mean something to some people, not everything to everybody, that old adage about branding. So we believe in that. We're out here to have fun. We're actually out here to be positive and, really have this fun irreverence. And maybe sometimes that's too blunt for somebody or too gross for somebody. And that's okay with us. And you can always kind of apologize to a customer. Oh, we're sorry you took that, the wrong way, or you were offended by that. And sometimes that's all it takes,
Yeah.
And at the same time, not trying to chase down every last person and please every last person. But it's actually kind of funny because it's like, at the end of the day, we think we're like blunt and bold, but we don't think we're doing anything that should offend anybody who's not fun loving. So that's kind of where we draw the line in the sand. Like, if you're a stiff or if you're not a fun loving person, you're just going to buy Charmin or private label. And that's fine with us. We're not trying to win everybody, but we actually believe, most Americans have a sentiment where they enjoy what Dude Wipes is doing and saying.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. As we think about the future, I know that, sustainability is a big thing these days, right? And making sure that you're doing good for the planet. Within the category, sustainability, comes up often with flushables. Is it sustainable? Is it environmentally friendly? Where is Dude Wipes with that narrative?
Yeah, so flushable wipes, ours in particular, have 100% plant-based fibers. So there's no plastics in a Dude Wipe, where there still is some in baby wipes. So that's where you're kind of seeing a lot of the environmentalism about wipes, just call it in general. And they've already kind of made some rules in Europe, like no polyester, no plastic parts in wipes. Here in the States, those rules don't exist yet. So you have some wipes like Dude Wipes that, do not have any plastic in them, are plant-based. They do break apart, and our flushability standards, meet the current industry standards. So we're always trying to meet those standards and make sure our materials don't have, things in them that are going to stick around the environment for a long time. So we've been that way for a while now. And we're always kind of looking ahead, what is the next, green initiative in this industry? And I think everyone's looking at packaging right now as well. That's no surprise, whether I sell, this or wipes or other things. People are looking for ways to make what actually holds the product more sustainable too. And those are things that we're evolving with too. We have a couple SKUs out right now that have 25% post-consumer recycled plastic. And, so looking into more of those aspects too, because at the end of the day, you got the wipe and the packaging, and, making sure we make those as sustainable as we can.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I know that that's something in the past when I would talk about Dude Wipes, the 2-track conversation, there's 3-track. I'm gonna get to the 3rd track in a bit. The 2-track conversation always been around how great the product is, but are they really flushable, right? Why is this flushable yet what I buy for my son the baby wipe isn't? And I think you just did a great job at clarifying this. So earlier today, I'm on a text message thread with a couple of friends of mine, and she says, someone's talking about Dude Wipes in the office, LOL, because they know that I worked with you guys, and I would just come home and talk about it. I'm like, oh, that's awesome. And she actually works for Campbell's Soup, and I was like, too much soup, makes you go poop. I made some kind of funny joke, and I was like, oh, I'm interviewing Shante on the podcast, and she goes, I would love to know what the weirdest application applications of dude wipes have been? And I was like, well, that's interesting. I know I've used them for sneakers before, but I'm sure within the past 10 years, you've heard some pretty weird usage stories. Any that come to mind?
Yeah, geez. I remember in the early days, we were getting pictures at strip clubs. So
Oh, word.
they had gotten a hold of dude wipes and they were using them on the poles and everywhere in the place. And they were
Oh.
sending us pictures on social media. That was a pretty funny one. Definitely, we get a lot of like blowout stories. Like, the
Yeah.
baby had a huge blowout in the car and they had to pull over to the side of the road and they're, cleaning the entire baby and the seats and everything with them. So, a lot of situations where like just having a pack of dude wipes
Yeah.
bailed people out of some situation, whether it was for, they're not always sitting on the toilet and getting used
Yeah.
to that situation. It's really when they get out of the bathroom that we start getting, a lot of bizarre fun stories.
And that's where the to go wipes come in hand. We have a pack here in the studio, like right over here, because our toilet paper is atrocious here, and like your hand goes through it, right from the get go. So we keep kind of dude wipes. I've kind of stacked in the bathroom here in this public bathroom with dude wipes, but those to goes are so clutch. And
that was the first product, Stephen. The to go was, our first product for about almost 2 years. And that was just kind of the idea was, hey, we're guys, we're going to the bar, we're at the office every day. We have to use the office toilet paper. We need a pocket-sized dude wipe that we can just put in our wallet or put in our pants that can just go with us the entire day, the entire night. So like that was all we sold the first couple years was that solution. And no one else was doing that at the time. So that was unique, even to like the broader space of wipes. Like, hey, these guys have just given me a little wipe I can put in my pocket. So
yeah,
that application definitely near and dear to our heart because it was our first dude wipe.
It is, and we were talking about category entry earlier, and like that's such a prime example of a product made for category entry, for sampling, for schools to get people, high school athletes to give it out in their football orientation or whatever it is to try to go ahead and get the entry into the category. So smart. And you guys have been incredible with the journey. I want to talk about you as a chief executive dude and that title. Do all of you have a funny title, that has the word dude in it?
No. I think I'm the only one. I just made that up from the get-go and just stuck with it,
It's kind of become your thing now.
I call myself a CEO when I got product in my spare bedroom and, we're making $50,000 a year. It just didn't feel right.
Right.
And then, just stuck with it ever since,
So what is the brand of Sean? What is your personal brand?
Yeah, I mean, I think my personal brand is trying to like inspire a bit of like, hey, guy like myself who didn't have a lot of experience, who people weren't betting on, to be successful, was able, to achieve things that we've achieved. So that is something I'm trying to personally tell is like, hey, our story and sort of the mindset that helps you get there is that, you kind of got to like believe in yourself and you see around the corners of all these things you haven't done before. You have to believe that you can do them in order to like, achieve things that are very hard to do. So I try and be very open with that story and tell things, that I've experienced from, highs and lows and all of that. And I think that's one thing people resonate with is, that they're on a journey themselves and they can see, where they're at now is somewhere where I was at in my past and, can help them keep pushing forward. All of our, like from the dudes who started the company, all of our DNA is kind of on the brand. So, we're all fun guys who, are going to speak our minds and not take life too seriously. So, a lot of that you see on the brand comes through myself and the other guys too, because that's just kind of, who we are. So think it's a mix, you know, between you telling that started from the bottom story, as we like to say, but also being like, you don't have to call yourself a CEO. You don't have to act so corporate. You don't have to look so corporate. You know, everything can kind of evolve into a way that represents yourself. And that is, in my opinion, one of the beauties of being an entrepreneur, is that like you can be yourself. And so when I'm outspoken on LinkedIn or saying something maybe somebody doesn't like on there, you know, all I know is if I'm being myself and having fun, you know, that's all I'm trying to almost give people permission to do or encourage them to do.
I love following and interacting with you on LinkedIn, and you do these acts. My New York fucking attitude just came out right there. Wow. Ask Sean something sessions, or your ass sessions. Like where and when did that start?
When did I start doing those? Maybe like a year ago, but you know, just kind of like ask me anythings are fun. So of course I had to put the ass spin on it. But that's a way, you know, if I'm trying to post lessons or like, you know, reply to comments and stuff, but that's like a micro mentorship way for just me to give back. Like, hey, I'm going to be on LinkedIn, you know, live for 30 minutes, call in, ask me whatever you want about your business, about my business, about strategy.
Super cool.
And I'm going to give you my, you know, no bullshit feedback. And here's how I'd look at it. So just a way for me to interact with a bunch of people, you know, and get them some feedback. Because I know I reached out to tons of people, you know, and I still reach out to people on my come up. And, you know, when the company was very small and I had no experience, I was reaching out to people who were running a company that's our size now. And certain people along the journey lent you their ear and gave you some advice and stuff like that. So I'm really motivated to kind of like keep doing that and just having that karma roll from there, you know?
The pay it forward mentality is brilliant. There's so much noise on LinkedIn. There's so much noise on social, right? So this may be a two-part question. Like, I'm curious to know how is Sean breaking through the noise on LinkedIn, and conversely, like, how is Dude Wipe breaking through the noise just on social in general?
Yeah, I mean, LinkedIn's easier to break through the noise. You don't have as many people posting, and and everyone's kind of a little too professional on there. So my way to break through the noise is kind of like break through that professional tone a little bit, but then also like offer some value. So whether it's just something that's fun and entertaining, or it's like a business, you know, opinion or lesson or things like that, just putting like, you know, a fun spin on it and being consistent. You know, social media, obviously consistency is just step one. No matter what you're doing on any social, you got to be consistent. Then you get over into like Instagram and Twitter and stuff, and you know, there's a lot of content, there's a lot of noise. So consistency, definitely your friend there. Finding like an avenue where people can like expect things from you, and you can kind of deliver on certain things regularly. So, you know, just being in like conversations that happen in the news about anything poop related or bathroom related is very powerful us on social, and we can jump on stories. Even just being involved in the community, like searching things on Twitter about people who ate Chipotle and they took a big shit, you know, like we're in there dropping a sub comment or a tweet or whatever. And like people really get a kick out of just being engaged with. So finding, you know, your lane, which for us is like, we're all about this bathroom conversation and bringing light and humor to it, and, you know, memes and everything. And then just being consistent, because got to be comfortable on social media with things not landing. This happens all the time, you know, but like 1 out of every 10, you know, goes viral and gets you 500,000 impressions, and that was for free, you know. So it's the big brands have a tough time doing it because they got layers of legal and they don't really have a voice, you know, that makes sense. And so they can't really be always on and always hitting. And so that's the small guys' opportunities. I think some of the small guys burn out a little bit because they don't see a return, or like.
But it's the long game. It's the long game.
You're building a brand. You're not running a Facebook ad that's making
or an MLM get rich quick scheme. You know what I mean?
yeah, you're building the brand, and that's just like going to take years and years of
Right.
being there every day.
One of the things I found so fascinating, and when we were diving into a lot of the social listening, is you would post a comment. The brand would post a comment underneath someone else's post, but more often than not, it was your comment that got more engagement than the actual post, right? And that just goes to show like the consistency and the compound nature that social media can do, especially when, you know, like you said, like there's a post maybe about Chipotle or Taco Bell or whatever it is, and we got your back, or we're here when you need us, or so just something like that, just to kind of just coming in and inserting the dudeness. And that's so uniquely you guys. There's only a handful of brands out there that I think that can command that kind of attention from a poop emoji or a toilet emoji. And that's just, you know, that's so incredible that this is the lane that you guys have found.
Yeah, for sure. And, you know, that goes back to the focus in the category and what we're doing. So that allows us to be like, okay, where should we focus this voice?
Yeah.
And then the consistency, you know, okay. And now we get people being like, where's the dude wipes comment, you know, on a video of like a pipe exploding and mud going everywhere or something. And so we'll get tagged to come in there and comment, hey, you're going to need us. So it's like people recognize that this is our shtick, and we
totally. And they love it, and it works. So kind of as we start to wrap up here, what's you guys been around what, 10 years now?
Yeah. Yep.
10 years. Amazing. I think isn't that the platinum anniversary or whatever it is? What does 10 years from now look like for Dude Wipes?
Yeah, I think, you know, we like to say we're just approaching about 1%. Still trying to just hit that of the U.S. toilet paper market. So there's a lot of goals just to get to 2%, 3%, 5%, you know, so we really do believe we're still like super early in what we're doing, and that we need to kind of keep innovating, keep being the best at what we're doing. But it's a lot of focus. It's a lot of growth on what we're currently doing. But at the same time, we got to be upping our game every year, like we talked about with like campaigns we're rolling out. You know, marketing's got to be bigger and better and louder, and products got to have like new things coming out with it. And, you know, so innovating on the product, innovating on the marketing, and then you're building a team along the way too. So you know, what does our team look like here when the company's 3 times the size it is? So, you know, our 10-year plan is to, you know, be 10% of the U.S. toilet paper market. Like, it's pretty concentrated, but along the way to that goal is, you know, all of these evolutions we're going to have to make in every single,
like hundreds of micro steps to get to that one goal.
Yeah, manufacturing upgrades and warehousing expansions, and, you know, and all that is just us still being laser focused on the U.S. But as we talk about a 10-year horizon, you know, I think we're looking at could we be in a real way in other markets, and what does that look like? And that's kind of a different challenge too.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Is a dude the same in Europe as it is in the U.S.? You know,
right.
Branding questions like that, or is a dude in China the same as it is in the U.S., or do we gotta follow cultures and all of that sort of thing?
When you start to look at different, when you start to look at different geographies, there's such a cultural lens you need to put on. You know, maybe Australia and Canada dudes are pretty similar.
Yeah, for sure.
Maybe
definitely
even
Aussie dudes.
Definitely Aussie. Although they would, you know, there's a lot of Aboriginal probably wiping theories down there on different plants that you can use. You know, who knows? Australia's a whole different market. I don't know where I'm going with this, by the way. I'm just kind of going. Yeah, we're just spitballing here. Sean, it was so good to have you on the podcast. I really appreciate your time. We're going to have you on another episode once the campaign launches, so we could talk about it, and we can kind of talk about, you know, the ideas that went into making the campaign what it is, because it's going to be so cool. I know firsthand. Tell everyone how they can get in touch with Dude Wipes, how they can order product if they've never tried it, and where you live on the internet.
Yeah. Get in touch with Dude Wipes, at Dude Wipes on kind of your majors of TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. We're all over there. We're pretty active. And then pick up your dude wipes wherever you buy toilet paper. So Walmart, Amazon, Kroger, Target, all those fine retailers. And if you're looking to follow me, hit up Sean Riley on LinkedIn. You can stay in touch with a little bit more of the entrepreneurial journey behind the scenes stuff.
Cool. And for more on the branding magazine, Branders Magazine, Talking with Branders podcast, go to brandersmagazine.com. For more on me, go to stephenpicante.com. And until next time, we'll see ya.